Did you know that one of history's greatest thinkers was sentenced to death? Not for a crime, but for asking too many questions. This is the story of Socrates, the man who chose death over silence, and in doing so, changed the course of philosophy forever. Athens, the birthplace of democracy. But not everyone was free to speak. The charges: corrupting the youth, disrespecting the gods. But was Socrates really guilty, or was he just too dangerous to those in power? Socrates was famous for his method of questioning, forcing people to confront their own ignorance. But that made the powerful uncomfortable. He didn't give answers. He asked hard questions. He didn't follow blindly. He challenged tradition. And for that, the Athenian leaders wanted him gone. Socrates could have begged for mercy, but instead he mocked the court. Socrates, I should not be punished. I should be rewarded. I have spent my life making Athens wiser. He didn't fear death. What he feared was living a life without truth. And so the jury found him guilty. The vote was close, but the sentence was clear: death by hemlock poison. Socrates had one final chance. He could escape. His followers begged him to run. Exile was an option. He could leave Athens and live in peace. But Socrates refused. Socrates, the unexamined life is not worth living. And so he chose death. As the poison took effect, his last words were, "Wa, Socrates, Crito, we owe a rooster to Asclepius. Don't forget to pay the debt." What did he mean? Some believe he was thanking the gods, because for Socrates, death was just another journey. Socrates' death was not the end, it was the beginning. Socrates' death was not the end, it was the beginning. His student Plato was so shaken by his teacher's execution that he dedicated his life to preserving Socrates' ideas. Through his dialogues, especially the Apology, the Republic, and Phaedo, he immortalized the teachings of his mentor. Socrates may have died, but his words lived on. Without Socrates, there would be no Plato. Without Plato, no Aristotle. And without Aristotle, the very foundations of Western philosophy, ethics, and logic might never have formed. But was Socrates right to die for his beliefs? Or did Athens silence one of its greatest minds? Some say he was reckless, choosing death over compromise. After all, he could have lived and continued teaching elsewhere. But to Socrates, life without truth was meaningless. He refused to betray his philosophy even in the face of death. His trial exposed a paradox in Athenian democracy. A city that prided itself on free thought had condemned its greatest thinker for doing just that, thinking freely. Yet his death gave his ideas even more power. His defiance became a symbol of intellectual courage. His choice to die, rather than remain silent, turned him into a martyr for philosophy. More than 2,000 years later, his words still challenge us. Do we question what we are told? Do we seek wisdom even when it is uncomfortable? Do we have the courage to stand by our beliefs? Socrates' final message to the world was clear: the unexamined life is not worth living. What do you think? Did Socrates make the right choice? Let's discuss in the comments.